Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. Gameweek19 preview. We're going to have a look back at Gameweek 18. I'm Tony, hosting again. Scott's absence. Get well soon, Scott. You're dragging it out a little bit now, mate. With me this week is Ben. You there, mate?
Hi, mate. All good? How are you?
Yeah.
Have you started back jogging?
No, not this year. I am meant to be doing dry January, but I don't know. It's not going too well. But yeah, all good, mate. It will be starting tomorrow. It's just I had to take a snow day off work today. Couldn't get in today. The lovely weather stopping my return to work. But we are live tonight for all the patrons and the YouTube subscribers. So say hello, drop a hello in the chat, give us a like. We're joined by two Patreon members on the pod tonight. First up, Matt Woolley.
Evening all. Nice to be back.
Good evening, mate. Great to have you back on, mate.
Thank you.
And my fellow tag team partner and fellow Rovers fan, Andy Barnett. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Good evening, all. It's great to be on again. Could be under better circumstances, but I'm here.
It could have been. We don't want to talk about the weekend. Other than Premier League football, I'm sure Woolley will agree.
Yeah, no Argyle chat tonight.
Right, we are just going to jump straight into our teams, and then we'll give everyone a mention in the chat. First up, mine. I'll just have a quick run through, and you lads can chat through the players. I always try and read it off there, and I can't. It's too small. 81 points for the week so far. I'm hoping, obviously, to get a few more in the cup games. Martinez 3 points. Hall only 3 points. Gabriel 2. Trent 0. That's probably all he deserved as well. Absolute stinking performance from Trent. Back to his very, very worst. Diaz 2 points. Kulusevski 4 points. Palmer 10. Foden 11. Back on the goal trail for Foden. Isak 8. Captain Salah. Weren't getting burnt again this week. 11 points. 22. Double from 11. And then Haaland. The man is back. 2 goals. 16 points. Nice little haul from him. So 81 for the week. Not great. I see some many bigger scores than that. I just can't seem to get one of these big scores at the minute. But that's the way it's going. Current rank 177th now. I've gone down during that Wolves and Notts Forest game in the last 10 minutes or so. So, yeah, plenty of work to be done. Ben, over to your team, mate.
Yeah, I'll make my team's even worse than yours this week. 67 points, down to 729th now. But yeah, I brought in Johnson and Gabriel. I just have a feeling that they'll play every game over the next 4 games. So I just thought I'll get them in there now. I know the fixtures are tough for them, but I'm targeting that Tamworth game next week with the Tottenham assets. And I think Arsenal will play a strong side against Man United in the Cup. And they're at home now for the next 5 games. I know the hard fixtures. We've got obviously Newcastle in the Cup, Man U in the FA Cup, Tottenham, Aston Villa, and then it's Dinamo Zagreb. I can't even say it. Dinamo Zagreb. Yes, all home games, and at home they're decent. They haven't conceded a goal since they played Liverpool at home. So yeah, I'm doubled up now with Timber. Timber's suspended for the weekend, but I believe he'll play a double next week. So it's like, might as well just keep him through this.
Yeah.
So Forster stayed in guard, took Mazraoui out. He had a single against Liverpool. And I just fancied doubling up with the Arsenal. I did like your Hull shout. You brought Hull in this week, didn't you? He's been on fire.
Yeah, that's heartbroken.
Yeah, but the fixtures are tough, really, for Newcastle defensively. But he was scoring points for fun out of other things. But it's just, like you say, you can hold him through these doubles in 20 and 21 because they've got Bournemouth at home and Southampton away, which is not bad. So it's not a bad punt. Trent, 0 points. Forster stayed in goal because he's ill, and I think he might play in the cup. I know they've signed a new goalie, but I think Forster should play, hopefully. Johnson coming for me for Gomez, got injured again. So, Johnson's coming in. I'm targeting that Tamworth fixture, really. It's a longer-term transfer. Obviously, I think I'll get the double this week as well. Kulusevski is in there. Diaz, Kulusevski with 4. Diaz with 2. Palmer with 10. Is that 10? I can't see it on there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, sorry.
I can see it. I've got the page up. Yeah, 10 there with a goal. Isak, he got 8. Salah captain on 11 and Haaland 16. So, poor week, really, considering the other scores I've seen so far this week. But, long-term transfers then.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're there on the left, aren't you, Matt?
I am indeed. So playing a little bit differential in places to try and recover from a position I'm not particularly happy to be in the overall league. So Martinez also for 3 points, Saliba for 3, Munoz, who I bought in I think a couple of weeks ago for a bit of a fixture on it, wasn't particularly because he had a single this week, I have to say, but 8 points. Van Dijk 3, Diaz only 2, which was a bit of a disappointment. Wilson from Fulham, the first of the 2 Fulham players I brought into target there, double this week. 7.
He should have had a penalty, shouldn't he?
He should have had a penalty.
Well, he got the penalty, but he didn't get the. Did he not get the assist?
I can tell you that. He did get the assist. Yeah, he did get the assist.
Oh, right, okay.
So, he got the assist. Johnson.
They didn't give it initially, did they?
No.
He were absolutely fuming. I thought he were going to get a yellow card for it. He was screaming at the ref. Completely wiped out.
Yeah, so Wilson, I mean, he's been in obviously great form. With Europe coming up, I suppose he's not particularly a long-term option, and he'll be probably out this week after their cup game, which is the oddity of the cup game in this game week rather than the next game week in the FA Cup. Johnson, target Tamworth, as I think I heard Ben say. That's very much in my mind as well. Palmer, 10 points. I know there are a few questions coming up later around how long to hold on to Palmer or not. Second of the Fulham assets was Iwobi. Didn't do a huge amount at home against Ipswich. And it wasn't really because I thought there was much chance of bonus or anything like that coming in. It was really for goal involvements. Those 2 were picked probably. Solanke, target Tamworth as well. So he got 10, which I was happy with in that first match. And then we've still got Liverpool at home for Solanke. So probably hoping for, even though I've got Van Dijk at the back, probably hoping for a high-scoring game there with Salah also captain on 11 points, double to 22. What I've obviously gone gambling a bit there, which I'm, again, feeling comfortable to do because I'm not in that great a position that I need to worry too much. No Haaland and no Isak at the moment, though that will change at some point. 74 points for the week. So, again, in that pocket, which I think both of you were, which is not especially happy with that. I was hoping for a bit more, but there we go.
Yeah.
Did you bring Wilson and Iwobi in this week?
I did bring them in this week, yeah. So it was they came in for Garnacho and Havertz on the back of, I still need to, unlike some who will come on to a bit later, maybe I do need to worry a little bit about price changes as well. So Havertz and Garnacho had partly gone out for that reason, but it was double Fulham in for this cup week, but they'll be straight back out.
Yeah, could have been better. They looked good first half. Fulham, they were unfortunate to be behind, but that's football, isn't it?
It is football. They've still got obviously Watford ahead, which could be. They could both start against Watford. I think Fulham might go for that in the cup. Certainly, they've got plenty of time before their next league fixture, so I think they might both start in that one. That's kind of the hope. But I've taken that extra gamble, even in this week, of gambling on a couple of will they start in the FA Cup, which is probably a bit riskier than I would normally do.
Yeah. Andy, over to your team, mate.
Right. So here starts the tale of woe. I mean, I've got 61 points so far this week, which is it's obviously not great considering there's a lot of people that have got sort of like somewhere around 100 plus. However, my team's kind of in a state of flux at the moment, so I'll just run through it. I've got Forster, who I wish I'd never brought in. He's got 0 points so far this week. Guardiola's got 3. Timber, who's obviously he's missed the first game, he's got 0. Trent, who did play the first game, got 0. Gabriel got 2. And then De Bruyne, who's starting to play 90 minutes now, so I'm kind of okay to have him in, but it's not working out how I wanted it to. He got 7 points this week. Odegaard, 1 point. Diaz got 2 points for Liverpool, another one that I've just brought in. Hoping to catch a move going forwards. It's not working out so far. However, the front three have done okay for me. Isak's got 8 points. Salah, who I've captained this week, I thought I'd best get back onto the normal captain trail because everything's been going wrong so far. He's got 22 points, and Haaland, 16 points. I captained him, I think it was last week, and got nothing, but at least he's starting to score now, so that's a good thing. So yeah, that's my team. I mean, the only solace that I can take, my overall position at the moment is not too indifferent to Matt's. I think I was 19 points. I'm behind you, Matt. About 4 weeks ago, I was in the top 1K. And I've managed to go down to 11,300th at the moment. And partially it's not necessarily making the correct decision with captains, but I think a lot of it's been just down to rotten luck, basically, where you bring players in or take players out and then they start scoring. But the player that you've brought in is a decent player. I mean, you can look around the team that I've got now, and every single player, barring Forster, who's in goal, you'd think decent players to have in your side. But unfortunately, I've had the players in at the wrong time, brought them in at the wrong time, or taken them out at the wrong time when they've started scoring. So the only solace that I can take from the situation that I'm in at the moment is that my team is absolutely stacked with European players. So going forwards, I think I'm going to have some a luxury of choice, so as to speak. If I get any injuries this weekend, I can still sort of like field a team of European players going into Europe. Going into the FA Cup, I think it's anything could happen. They could, it's all right. Haaland could play, he might not play. Any player that you've got from any of the big sides, they could play, they could not play. So it's just pot luck as far as I'm concerned, because you can't see the lineups before you put your players in. So I've decided not to go for any punts and just keep it standard and let this FA Cup take its course and then go forward. One thing that I would like to say about the FA Cup, though, that there's a few teams that there's going to be jeopardy, because a lot of people have stacked the teams up with Arsenal players, not so much Manchester United players, but they've also got Villa players as well. Now, if you've got Arsenal and Manchester United players, you can swing with it. But let's just say you've got 4 Arsenal players. They're playing Manchester United in the FA Cup. Now, if Manchester United win that match, you're quite possibly going to have, in another couple of weeks, you're going to have them blanking. Game week 23. I can't see Arsenal being in the playoffs of the Champions League. And if they lose to Man United, they're going to blank in game week 23. If Manchester United, they could also blank in game week 23 if they lose to Arsenal. So if you've got, like quite a lot of players from either of those teams, you're going to have some decisions to make over the next couple of game weeks. So yeah, it's and the same thing with Villa. They might get knocked out by West Ham, and if they get knocked out by West Ham, then they've got a good chance of getting straight through as well. So they could blank. So that's 3 teams that could possibly blank when it comes round to game week 23. So, like I say, it's kind of making me think about my decisions going forwards, because I've got, at the moment, as it stands, I've got 3 Arsenal players, and I'm thinking of bringing Bruno back in this week because it looks like Manchester United they've started to play a little bit better now, and they've got some decent fixtures going forwards. So, yeah, this FA Cup weekend is going to be pivotal to the decisions that I make going forward.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's one where, I mean, it's an absolute lottery for your players to be playing in that cup game 19. The safer bets are United and Arsenal, I'd say, because they're against each other purely. You usually see better lineups when you get a Premier League fixture. Some people are going to get lucky with it. Some people aren't. Just touching on United, like you're on about bringing in Fernandes. I thought United were pretty damn good against Liverpool. Everyone expected them to get spanked, me included. To be fair, they turned up, made a proper game of it. What a good game of football. Cracking game of football we watched. And that's because there were 2 teams playing some good stuff. They had a bit of zip about them, United. I just think they're a bit of bravery on the ball, and just they had something they've been lacking for weeks and weeks. Well, years and years, to be fair. But yeah, it was a good showing from United. Something to build on, I think, as well from them. So I won't be clambering to get to any of them, even Bruno. But it's definitely it's take notice in my eyes. I think it's just take notice of them assets, because the likes of Mazraoui and Fernandes, they've always got the points anyway. They're pretty decent at doing it, so they are good options. But then if United do start to play consistently like that, then yeah, you'll have some good options on your hands.
Just picking up on one thing there, Andy, you mentioned, obviously you're already looking forward to game week 23, 4 or 5 weeks away, and the fact that we've got those Euro playoffs coming up, and Liverpool looking unlikely to be in there. And Nobbles, I think in the chat, has said that heavy rotation potentially for Liverpool coming in their Champions League, certainly final game, if they're already qualified. Are you sort of actively building up towards that already, or have you fallen into apart from the fact you might have a slight Arsenal problem, a fairly good position deliberately?
Well, the thing is, I could potentially have an Arsenal problem, but I could also have a really good situation with Arsenal. It all depends on how the one game goes in the FA Cup and who they decide to play in the Champions League. But what I've been doing is because the decisions it's been about 4 weeks where every decision that I've been making has been going wrong. So last week I decided to bite the bullet. And it's just a case of I've got 3 Manchester City players in there now, and I'm happy to sit, like through this week with them only having 1 game. I've gone to 4 at the back, brought Trent in, and went to 4 at the back, and it's just with a view of having options over the next week. I'm not particularly looking at game week 23 yet, but it's just something that has stuck out in my mind that you could have I don't, with the new rules, I don't play 4, 5, 6 weeks in front anymore. I'll play with the next couple of weeks in mind, but obviously having a small grasp on what's going on further forwards. But I just feel that going forwards, just by having my players that are going to be playing in Europe in the next couple of weeks, the week after next week, that's when the last European games are being played. And I just want to give myself the flexibility to be able to change. And the only way to do that, in my mind, the way that my team was set up, was to go to 4 at the back. I feel that I have to have the 3 at the front that I've actually got because they're so highly owned. I mean, even Isaac in the top 1,000, he's owned by, I think it's 90% or more of all the managers. And then Salah and Haaland are just like no-brainers, really. So I want to give myself the flexibility. Let's just say Arsenal lose this week, and it looks like they're probably going to be getting a blank in game week 23. Well, I want to have as many players playing in that week, so I then have the flexibility to take out 2 defenders if I want to keep Odegaard, for instance, and I can put a midfielder in for one of them. Or if Arsenal do get through, then I can take out Trent Alexander-Arnold if I think that Liverpool are going to go weak in the last 2 Champions League matches, because it already looks like they've qualified. If they win the next one, the chances are that they're going to play a youth team, in the last game. So I want to have the options to be able to take players out. I don't necessarily want to be taking them out of the midfield positions, and it's a defensive position. So I've basically upped my defence so that I can then have options. Basically, if you're taking out a defender and you've only got 3 defenders, you have to put a defender in, if you see where I'm coming from. So that's the reason why I've gone 4 at the back. So I can then choose a defender to take out for a midfielder, and I can also change a midfielder, say if Diaz gets injured or something, or one of them gets a red card. So yeah, that's all I've done this week. And looking forwards, yes, I don't look forward too far. So I am just looking at the European fixtures. Hence, that's why my team's made up like it is.
Yeah, no, good shout.
Yeah. Like you say, get an injury to when you've got 3 at the back, you're only able to bring in a defender, aren't you? So, right, just a shout out to a few of the people in the chat joined us live today. Ian Curry, Owen Higgins, Johnny Yates, Matt Woolley, that's you. Phil Harrison, Mr. H, Nobbles, Roberto, Mark Warner, Von Butte, and Nathan Wisby has just joined us as well. So good evening to you guys, and thanks very much for your support. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Hopefully get you something useful out of it. Over to the Patreon questions. First up, David87. Let's hear your game week 19 punts. Ben, who are you punting on?
I'm not sure yet myself, but I had a look, and there's quite a lot of players I think could be good shouts. So yeah, you could look at Man City. Obviously, I'm not going to mention Haaland and Foden and that, but like players, look at Savinho, who's been on form the last few weeks. He's been flying. 3 assists at the weekend, goal and assist last week. And if I were Pep, I wouldn't change much. I'd just keep it similar now. He's playing well on the left. He was playing on the right initially, weren't he? But he seems to be.
Yeah.
They've changed the tactics and they're starting to actually cross the ball into Haaland now. They're putting the left footer on the left side, and then trying to whip the ball into him. So yeah, I like him. Liverpool, I think you got to look at like Jota should get Accrington, I think, and he could get some minutes in the league. That's the only thing. I don't think he's in the first front three, but he will get minutes. He's like the next one in. So if you want to punt there, Jesus, Arsenal, I think he's been doing really well. And obviously with the tricky fixture in the FA Cup, I believe he'll play 2 games. Do anyone else want to throw some in and then I'll jump in some more?
Oh, I'm just wondering if Jota's still alive, as Martinez was telling him, get down tunnel, let's see you down there. I don't know if you've seen that during the game, but they had a bit of a spat. But I'm sure he was pointing towards the tunnel and saying, I'll see you after.
I didn't see that.
I mean, I'd definitely echo Savinho, and only 2.9% owned. I expect you could maybe shove a 1 in front of that by the weekend to sort of 10% or so. There are also a couple of players who are really low owned. Who, if you're looking in isolation, you've got the luxury of a move this weekend, and you want somebody cheap as well. Liam Delap at Ipswich. I mean, what a signing he's been for Ipswich, 20 million quid. He's keeping them in with a chance of staying in the league. They've got Bristol Rovers at home on Saturday and then Brighton and Hove Albion on Thursday at home in the Premier League. So big gap between them, both at home. Bristol Rovers could be a hatful of goals there. Maybe that's worth a punt, but I mean, you're definitely booking in the transfer to get him out. So that's a luxury move. Maybe Jamie Vardy, Palace at home after QPR at home in the cup again for home games. 3.1. Don't know why Jamie Vardy's positive in my thoughts. To be honest,
I don't think he'll play the cup match. I just have a feeling he'll get rested.
You might
getting on now, isn't he?
You might well be right on that one. I think Delap will play both, and I think the other one that I was thinking, it's not much of a punt, but it's not necessarily certainly with Man City at home. Whoever plays for Brentford up front, they've got Argyle at home, and Argyle's defence is shambolic this season. So there are goals there. So Mbumo or Visser, I mean, just anyone for Brentford who actually you think is going to play there, they could more than make up for the fact that their second match is against City, who aren't the greatest defence at the moment either. But certainly, if you want a bit of fun, try one of those. But I wouldn't suggest it as a long-term strategy, any of them.
Andy?
Okay. Well, obviously, you've said some players that I've already thought of. However, I don't think I'll be taking any punts this weekend. And as the question states, what punts would you make? So if I were making a punt, I would also be looking at the likes of Brighton, possibly, because they've got Norwich and Ipswich. Possibly like somebody that's not been spoken about a lot, and that's Karau Mitoma. He could possibly be a punt. Also, João Pedro, obviously, he could be a punt. And the other team that I was looking at also, not necessarily because they're playing your team, Ben, because your team could also have a punty player like Vardy was also mentioned. But Crystal Palace, they're playing Stockport, I do believe, and Leicester as a double. So you could possibly jump on. Who's the guy that they got from Watford?
Sarr.
Ismail Sarr, yeah. Or you could, just pop on their talisman. And then you've also got Chelsea, who are playing Morecambe and Bournemouth. So, like I say, if you were going for a Chelsea player, chances are I don't think Cole Palmer's probably going to be playing in it. But you could have somebody that would get the Morecambe game, such as Nkunku or João Felix, and they could possibly play the Bournemouth game or come on as a sub. Something like that. But the thing is, you make a punty move, and the player that you're bringing in, you're obviously going to be bringing out again. So you've got to be in a situation where you can afford to do that. Unfortunately, I'm not in that situation at the moment, and I've taken too many punts over the last few weeks, so my punty days are over at the moment.
Yeah, if the more punts you put in, then further down the line when you want a full European team, you're going to be behind, transfers behind. So you just got to be wary.
I think if you put in punty players in this week, I would only recommend, if you are going to do it, put one in. For me, and the way I'm playing it, I'm pretty much planning for game week 20. And if I get lucky and some of my players play, I'll be happy. There's going to be a few winners out of it, and there's going to be some losers. There's going to be people that drop really lucky, and there's just somebody who nobody expected to play against one of these lowly sides, and they're going to score a ton full of points. But it's not something that without. Don't get me wrong, if you had a lineup and you went, do you know what, I'll take a punt on somebody who's going to start that game. I know he's starting. Yeah, go on, I'll throw him in just for 90 minutes against that team. I know we have to take him back out. That's fine. I'll just have to put up with that. I could do that, but you're taking a punt on a player that you don't even know is going to play. I mean, for example, you could put Nkunku in at Chelsea because you expect because he's second string and he didn't play. He might not play. Imagine if he plays Jackson. Leaves Nkunku up bench and just go for it. And yeah, it's a dangerous game. So for me, my advice is I would plan towards 20 European games returning, some big European games as well. Some teams needing to win. Man City especially need to get their European venture back on track. It's I'm playing it safe.
Now, just add one thing to what you've been saying, Tony. With the fact that the majority of Premier League teams they're playing teams from lower leagues, of course, any of your players that you've got in your side at the moment as a differential. I've got De Bruyne in my side. He's a punt. People are taking Odegaard out now because he's not playing well. He's a punt. Diaz people have been bringing in, but he's still not super highly owned. He's a punt. So any Premier League player that you've got in your side, it's full of Premier League players. Most of them are not playing Premier League sides, they're playing lower league. So any of them are capable of getting 2 or 3 goals as a freak in that one game, even the defenders. So like I say, that's the reason why I'm not particularly interested in taking a punt this week and targeting a Premier League side against a really bad lower league side because, anything could happen this week.
I do feel like this could be the first week since this new format started where I might pull a transfer because I really don't know what to do with my team. I don't want to take anybody out that's in there. So I might roll it. I'm not, unless I do. I don't need to go down the route of chasing funds, but some people will. Some people will need to. So you're in my position where you've got a team that you're happy with, but you're a bit low on cash. Obviously, a few 0.3 drops to 0.3 rises, you could make yourself $1 million off 2 transfers. So it could be worth doing that. But other than that, I just think you got to start plan for the next week. I don't think this cup week's the time to be trying to structure your team. I don't think. Just end of David 87's question is it a good week for Max Cap? Do you reckon, Ben?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the week for it if you've still got it. Just before we go into that, I was just going to quickly mention a couple more.
Go on, mate.
Tottenham, I think, is going to be a good way to look at. I know they've got a lot of injuries, and I can see them playing like like you got your Johnson, Kulusevski. I can see them play. I can see Maddison getting some minutes in that Tamworth game as well. I don't know why he's not starting. He's the best player for me, Maddison, but for some reason he's not starting all the matches. Porro could get the Tamworth game, and obviously Solanke. And
who else have they got up front?
Well,
Richarlison's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, they've just got kids really on the bench, but they might give the kids minutes. I don't know.
Is it that Lancashire?
Lancashire, yeah. And is it Mickey Moore?
Yeah.
So they're all like youngsters.
He looks amazing for the future. But as you say, he's a youngster at the moment. The thing about the FA Cup as well is if you can pick out a match which you think actually might be a bit of a banana skin, they go straight to extra time this year in the third round. So we've got no messing around with replays. So if somehow Tamworth did hold Spurs,
3-3.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, hopefully 3-3 with lots of slang.
Probably.
I'll go for.
Probably.
But obviously there could be the chance of it being 120 minutes as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping he plays Johnson up front because he used to play up front for Forest.
Yeah.
Give him a chance. Rest Solanke. He's obviously got Werner there as well. I don't think he'll play Werner up front, but he used to play up front. And Nobles mentioned it in the chat as well. I was going to mention it here. Watkins and Rodgers have got hard games in the FA Cup, so I could see them getting a double next week, and then they've got Europe after that. So they're good players to bring in, I think. Obviously, Watkins has got the danger of Duran coming back, but apparently he's got a suspension might be carried over or something on his head at the minute. He's still serving his suspension at the minute, isn't he? He's got a 3-game suspension.
Yeah, they were on about it might be extended, weren't it, because of they appealed it.
Yeah. But no, that's why they got a 3-game suspension. I think it's something else. Not too sure.
Because he's injured.
Or has he charged him for assault?
You're not getting it.
Max Captain, definitely. I think this is the best week to use it because we don't know who's going to play. And if you've got someone in there, like, I don't know, I'm hoping Johnson plays and gets a couple against Tamworth, and we might get the odd goal against Arsenal, then I'm laughing. I've got 3 goals out of a differential, and then captained.
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's a fantastic week to play as well because, like I say, there's going to be lots of high-scoring games. Personally, I think, 3, 4, 5-0, and it's generally going to be the Premier League teams that are doing it. And any of your players could do it, even a defender. So. Yeah, definitely a great week for Max Captain if you still got the chip.
100%.
I'm chipless.
Yeah, same.
So, yeah, I agree. You agree, Wooly?
I do. I played it early. I played it in one of the early Champions League doubles, thinking that there could be a lot of high point scorers, but ultimately they were probably more predictable than this weekend. So I think next near the top of the lessons for next year is going to be FA Cup round 3. Even if Salah or a highly captained player gets it this week, I think this looks like the ideal week.
Yeah, good shout. My mate Choi Chine, Any players definitely getting 130 or 140 minutes this week, maybe from the European competition contingency of clubs. Ben?
I think like Arsenal, Man United, Aston Villa, I fancy them to be players you target because I just think they're going to go strong. Obviously, the Arsenal defence, you got Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, they're the main ones that I think you should be targeting. Raya, and obviously Odegaard's the main man in midfield, but he's not been doing much lately. But he's on penalties and some set pieces, so he could start going off at some point. Fixtures are pretty tricky, but they're all at home, so you would imagine that they'll attack. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes back in now, and you got Onana. I think he'll start, and he'll play all the European games. Obviously, you've just mentioned Aston Villa, Watkins, and Rodgers. I think are good players to target, and Palace. I like Eze. If it could be one to bring in for the. I know he's not in Europe, but Stockport Leicester could be a good double. Anyone got any others?
Well, the Brentford ones, either Wissa or Mbumo, they could do well, and I reckon Brentford will probably play a fairly strongish team in the FA Cup third round. But yeah, the sensible thing to do, if you are looking for players that are going to be playing 130 to 140 minutes this week, you're going to have to go for someone from either Arsenal, Villa, or Man U, because then you've obviously got the luxury of the last 2 weeks of the European situation. Because if you get an injury and you've brought somebody in just for the sake of getting 140 minutes, then you could end up snookering yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. Arsenal, Villa, United, very much the likely ones to go strong. The better picks longer term as well, with the European fixtures just around the corner. So that is what I'd advise.
I think
Man City. I just need a piss if you just take over.
Man City still have to go strong in Europe as well because they're 22nd in the Champions League. So could see them.
They're on the brink of that, aren't they? So they're definitely there. And I think the real gamble of this, though, is if you can pick somebody, and I'm sort of speaking before this, we talked with Tony a bit before we went live on this, and Tony was mentioning Liverpool, so it'd be interesting to pick up his thoughts there. If there's anyone from Liverpool he would pick, but he was certainly saying if you could get somebody in their starting lineup against Accrington Stanley, you'd want them. So, they could get a lot of goals. So it's for everything about you sort of almost you're going against targeting the easy fixtures by going Arsenal, Manchester United, because they're most likely to play their stronger sides.
Yeah.
But if you could get one of the ones against the perceived easier fixture, would you take that punt? Maybe that's what this week a punt is going for a player you think is going to start against an easier side. It's a tricky week. It's a very tricky week to navigate, which is why things like Max Captain come in really handy. So I was just saying that you had mentioned previously about Liverpool players this week. If you could actually get
the beauty of wireless headphones is I heard everything while taking me piss. Yeah.
So did we.
Yeah.
Because you've got a
mic. So it's an interesting one because Liverpool as well, obviously, doing so well in Europe. We thought, well, does Darwin Núñez, who's suspended for the Forest game, get Aki Stanley this week? Keep his legs ticking over. He's going to need 90 minutes because he can't play against Forest at all. And then going into the European games, he might get that European game because they're going to rest a few, aren't they? When it isn't as critical. It could be a possibly where you go for a punt, but you could hold him for a little bit longer. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not vouching. I am not vouching for Darwin Núñez to score anything, even if he does play against Aki Stanley. But as far as fixtures go and potential, it's there, isn't it? It's there. Like you say, Andy, who would you take out? I think that's the trouble with my team this week is that I don't want to take anybody out just to go, I took him out this week. And Mbumo's done me for last 2 weeks. He scored against Arsenal and then obviously another great performance last week where I did Mbumo to Foden. To be fair, Foden's done all right last 2 weeks. He's not done quite as well as Mbumo, but he's not let me down, to be fair. But yeah, it hurts a little bit. So I wouldn't want to make a transfer for a punty sake and then it really burned me. So I might save it. Right, moving on then. Roberto, are Trent and Diaz necessary to keep thinking of transferring out for some more differentials, thinking about bringing in Bruno and Aina in at the minute? What do you reckon, Matt? Trent and Diaz necessary?
Long story short, I think if you've got Trent, I wouldn't be taking Trent out unless you really think that there's something going on where Slot might drop him for kind of defend something along those lines and over reading into the current situation on contracts. But I think Trent's highest scoring defender in the league in the dream team. I think long term he's, if you've got the money for him, which most people have nowadays, he's pretty close to being essential. So I don't have him in at the moment personally, but I certainly wouldn't be taking him out. Diaz is a bit different. I think there are, a clump of midfielders who are around his price who score as many points as him. I think Liverpool, they've still got a couple of games coming up where I think they will probably play a strongish side against Lille at home in the Champions League to guarantee them going through. I need to look at the order of those fixtures probably to confirm that. But on that Champions League game week, I think the Bruno, is, you probably would sacrifice players to get Bruno in. Aina, I would just question whether somebody who's got Europe might be a better shout. So somebody like Mazraoui, who's 0.1 cheaper and probably will play against Arsenal and then has got Europe maybe over Aina. But I mean, there are lots of these where we're kind of on a bit of a knife edge at the moment. I think there's not a lot wrong with moving from Diaz to Bruno. I'm presuming the implication is you need to downgrade from Trent to Aina to do that. But I probably would stick.
Yeah, Andy.
Personally, I've got them both in my side, so I'm not going to take them out this week, I don't think. However, if you haven't got them, I probably wouldn't bring Trent in. I would take a punt on Diaz, but I don't think bringing Aina in would be a great idea. Because, like I say, have I got this? Yeah. Is it Trent and Diaz necessary to keep? Yeah, if you've got them both in your side, I'd probably keep them because, like I say, you could explore some other avenues of strengthening your squad. Don't know who you've got in your squad, but you could possibly strengthen your squad a little bit more because those two could quite possibly be playing in Europe coming up, and also they've got another cup semi-final as well. So if they're in the side, that's the way that I'm thinking at the moment. Diaz and Trent and Salah I'm probably going to keep them. I don't know whether I'll add to the Liverpool contingent yet, but I've not got any desire to move them out at the moment. I've only just put Diaz in, and even though he's only got 2 points, surely his next 20-odd pointers just around the corner.
Yeah. I was looking at this, and I can see where people are coming from, because they could have a six. So Trent and Diaz could play a single this week, and then they could be rested in the Champions League in Gameweek 20. They could be rested in Gameweek 21 in the Champions League, because they're more or less through. Was it 99% through? But then I was just looking at the league table, and the higher up the league you finish, the better you get fixture. The lower teams get in the Champions League.
Seeded. So like the top 8 are then seeded, are they?
Yeah, the top 8 go through to the last 16.
Yeah.
But the 9th to 24th go into a playoff. So and then they'll play one of the teams that wins their playoff. And at the moment, they'll be playing 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th if they finish first. So, yeah, they'll probably want to guarantee getting into the elite. They'll probably want to definitely win the next match. You know what I mean? So that's Lille at home. So I can see them going straight for that.
Can I just add something to this conversation as well?
Yeah.
Liverpool are on 18 points because they've won the first 6 matches. Now, in 12, you've got AC Milan that are on 12 points. So technically, if Liverpool lost their last 2 matches, and it's a strong, everybody's got at least 2 points per match down to 12th place. So it's a strong Champions League with regards to teams winning. So if Liverpool lost their last 2 matches, there is still a chance of them not being in the last 8. The first 8, sorry. So they're going to play strong definitely in the next match.
The way it's working, Andy, though, with the fixtures, because obviously only certain teams play certain teams. I think the way it falls is it's almost an impossibility unless they lost the last 2 games and like every single result went in a certain way. I think it's something like 0.002 chance of not qualifying. Right. It's regarding the fixtures and the way it works, because obviously everyone
is that not qualifying automatically or not being in the top 24?
No, sorry, in the top 8.
Oh, top 8, right? Oh, okay.
They pretty much cemented the place in the top 8, as far as I read it, because obviously that is where you want to go. You want to qualify them top 8. So just touching on what you said, Ben, just to clarify this. So obviously then you've got the other one. You've got the top 8 that go through straight away. You've got the next 24 that qualify for the knockout, like for a playoff beforehand.
Yeah.
What I don't get is, so if you finished first, do you get an easier draw? Because I don't know how they'd work that out. An easier draw than if you finish 7th.
Yeah, you're supposed to get an easier draw. I believe you're supposed to play. Well, depending on who goes through, you play so. On here it says 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th will be playing Liverpool or Barcelona in second.
So it's Liverpool against Man City then?
It could be. It could be. But yeah, and also, so just going on the fixtures there. So after the Champions League in 21, it's the double game week in 22 where they've got the second leg of the Carabao Cup. But then in 23, is like you said earlier, Andy, the 4th round of the FA Cup, which they should beat Accrington Stanley, so they'll play that. But then they don't have a European playoff. We don't think they'll have a European playoff. It's more than likely not. So then they'll only have singles there, while the other teams that are in the playoffs will have an extra 2 games. So I can see why people are thinking about moving off Liverpool. But on paper, Liverpool's probably got the best fixtures over the next.
Yeah, they have a good
4
run, don't
weeks. Yeah,
You'd
So it's
imagine.
tricky.
I mean, you'd hope in this world where we have set piece coaches down in lower echelons of football that they've got some sort of expert on the rules sat in Liverpool and studying all these rules of all these competitions. But it sounds like, and I think I did read it as well actually at one point, but I'd forgotten about it. But I think it's the difference between currently in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th in Champions League. You've got Dortmund, Bayern Munich, Atletico, and AC Milan. So there's a difference between Liverpool if they drop down to say 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, potentially getting them if they came through their playoff round, or ending up with the likes of Sporting or Feyenoord. So there is a difference.
So if you finish, what I'm trying to get at, so everybody outside the top 8 have to have a playoff. So if you finish 9th, you're into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So 9th plays the bottom, 32?
Yeah. 24.
Right,
No,
so
the other ones get eliminated. The other teams below 24th get eliminated.
Oh, sorry. Right. So you've got
36,
top 8 that go
league.
through. So there's 16 teams then that play.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 9th to 24th.
Yeah.
So 9th
I see
24th.
where you're going, Tony, with this one.
So if 9th plays 24th and then 10th plays 23rd, yeah.
Yeah.
If 24th beats 9th and 23rd beats 10th, then
they'll play 7th or 8th.
So then they then have the easier draw.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So it's not so it's not seeded as such. Where if you finish top, you're going to get the easier game because
you're going to get the better team beating the lowest ranked team, if that's the case, aren't you? So let's just say AC Milan, they finish in 9th, and then they play PSV or something in 24th. Now, if they win, the potential is that AC Milan play Liverpool. This is what you're thinking, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah. So
it's not an advantage.
So what I would guess is this is the way it goes. I don't know, but I'm just going to guess to solve it. Would be that everybody 9th to 24th gets a ranking of 9 to 24. If they go through, whoever is top plays the lowest ranked side that got through the playoffs. Possibly.
They've mapped it out on the FootMob app if you want to look at it. So like 9th and 10th will play 23rd and 24th, and then whoever wins that plays 7th or 8th. Liverpool and Barcelona will play between 15, 16, 17 or 18th. So, yeah, whoever wins out of 15th and 16th and 17th and 18th.
So
they're right.
So it's the middle.
So it's almost like you're imagining, Tony, where it's the kind of order of the teams, but there are pairs of teams. There will still be a draw. It will just be
they're putting two shit teams together, so then they have to play one.
Yeah.
Right. I say shit teams, like you say, it could be Man City.
Yeah.
But right, so they've like pinpointed a fixture between two of the lower teams that will then play the top 2 from the top 8.
Yeah, and there's no country protection because of that. So you could have you could go straight into English teams against English teams.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So this is
great
right for Man City and Real Madrid possibly finishing somewhere around 14th, 15th, and 16th.
So really, Liverpool want to lose a few. So put Darwin Núñez up front. You'd be right. Wisby's just touched on, which is a great shout about the Everton fixture to be rescheduled. Now I don't know what their fixtures are like, but if that did fall if Liverpool didn't have that playoff game, which they're not going to have, then that fixture will probably very likely drop into there. So
I heard
nice about that, Nathan.
I heard it's going to be possibly Gameweek 24 with the Wolves game. That's where they might. That's a possibility where the Everton game might go.
Right. And Gameweek 23 is left there for the FA Cup games.
Yeah.
It could go in 23 or 24.
Could do. But yeah, I heard Wolves is a good possibility. If you go on Twitter, there's a guy called Ben Krellin. He looks at all this, and he's a good person to follow.
Yeah, good shout. Right, yeah, we went on a tangent there. We went right down the Champions League rabbit hole, didn't we? Jesus. But yeah, at least I think we've tidied that up. So I mean, if you're Liverpool or Barca, thinking you sat pretty at the top, when you know there's a few of them big hitters dropping down towards them places, yeah. Yeah, Darwin Núñez. Mammoth. Next question. Best midfielders that will have double game weeks over the next few weeks. Diaz, Johnson, Martinelli. Already owns Kulu and Odegaard. Also, who is going to be your captaincy choice? Ben?
I think Bruno's got to be up there for double game weeks. Yeah, definitely on penalties, and obviously got Southampton next week as well, so that could be a good fixture target. They've got Rangers coming up, Fulham, and Steaua Bucharest. So yeah, that's a good player target, and I think Foden and Savinho could be really good players target. Man City's fixtures are decent as well. They've got obviously sold for Brentford this week, Ipswich away, PSG away, Chelsea home, and Bruges at home. And Rodgers is back from suspension. Another one that's got Champions League. And yeah, Kulusevski and Johnson, I think, are going to get lots of minutes over this period. I just can't get my head around why Maddison doesn't play. He'd be awesome if he knew he was starting every week. He'd be in my team, definitely.
Yeah, frustrating player, isn't he? Well, not frustrating player, frustrating that he didn't have the game time, yeah. Yeah, tricky one. What do you reckon, Andy?
Well, pretty much what Ben said. Personally, I'm thinking of captaining Bruno this weekend myself, because I think Salah, I've got in my mind every single game Salah's scoring points, and he's been doing it further back than what I can remember. I think this is probably the only week where it's possible that he might not play the Accrington Stanley fixture, and then he's away at Nottingham Forest, who are playing quite well. So if I were going against him this week, exactly what Ben has said, and it would be because Man U, they're playing Arsenal in the Cup, is quite likely to pick up some points, and they've got Southampton. They're at home to Southampton the next match. So, yeah, Bruno would be my choice. He's the only player that I think, or the one that's got the best chance of playing 90 minutes this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking at that, looking at my team and seeing, do I have a double game week player there? Obviously, Gabriel, but would you put your captaincy on Gabriel?
Yeah, I was looking at that, but I don't know. He hasn't got like that anything else in his back pocket, has he really? Apart from the odd goal and obviously clean sheets, like he ain't got no bonuses or anything. It makes me think, can I get some extra points there? And he's got. Does he say he got Odegaard in his team? Yeah. So
got Odegaard.
Would you take him out? Because he's probably another man who's going to get 180 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if I'd take him out if I had him, but I don't think I'd target him. It's a tricky one.
It is tricky.
Bruno's who you would expect to get points.
Yeah.
Odegaard could fall lucky for you because he's going to be on the pitch. And they could get like 3 penalties over the 2 games.
Yeah, he could do well.
Yeah, if you have Fernandes in your team, I do think it's pretty much a no-brainer to captain him, if I'm honest. Penalties, they don't have the form behind them, but they did show sparks, which could only be good for him. He'll probably play both. And we always say chase the minutes, don't you? You want to try and maximise the minutes on the pitch. Other than that, I think you've got to pick someone with a plum second fixture. And to be fair, United have Southampton. So I think
and after that, they've got 2 more home games. They've got Brighton and then Rangers.
It does point towards Fernandes if you've got him this week. Could I take out Diaz for him or Kulusevski?
Horrible, isn't it?
It's a dangerous game, that. It is a dangerous game. I don't know. He's on my radar, Fernandes. I think with the penalties, it tips it. But I really will. It'll all come down to whether I could pick a captain out of my team, out of my 11 right now. Because I don't really want to take any of them out. I'm happy with all the players that I've got in. But I am struggling a little bit with captaincy. So I can't give you my captain, Mammoth, because most of my players might not play the first game. You could just go Haaland away at Brentford. And you never know, he might come on for 20 minutes against Salford. Do some right damage.
So I was thinking about Savinho, who was coming in for me on my bus team at the moment, and captaining him on the same logic that he might actually get more than 20 minutes against Salford. He's in that form, and said, Pep would be a bit of a fool to not pick him, and he does pick on form, does Pep. So I'm thinking there's logic in that. What I don't have is Bruno, and now I'm actually thinking the longer I think about this and the conversation is I may not bring Haaland back this week and bring Bruno back. They're both coming in the next 2 weeks, but I might be bringing back in now and Haaland in next week to cap Bruno. So I think, thinking might be changed to my team because of that.
One word of warning though, Matt. I'm also thinking of bringing Bruno Fernandes in, and if you do bring him in, I'm captaining him. So I might break him.
Yeah, we might both break him. That is very true. Look out, everyone.
Yeah.
I wish we knew if Mbeumo was going to play, because he'd be a captain choice, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But like other captain choices, Watkins, again, I think he should get 2 games. And if you want to do a punt on a captaincy, which I think is better than just bringing a player in and then taking him out, I like Eze for a captaincy. Stockport and Leicester. Obviously, he can get points from anywhere. Even if he doesn't score a goal, he still somehow manages to get loads of bonus points and chances created. Everything else, yeah.
Is he playing Stockport?
I don't know, but Palace have been strong in all the early rounds in the Carabao Cup, and Eze played in them, and he was really handy at the start of the season.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think it's tricky, isn't it?
I think Wizard's got more chance of playing.
Yeah. But who'd you take out front? That's the problem. If you got 2 strikers, yeah. I don't know if I could take Isak out because he might get 20 minutes against Bromley.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? It's not even... A lot of these lads probably come on for the last 20 minutes, last 15 minutes.
Yeah, for that they've got that Osula, who's like... They only brought him on against Leicester when they were 4-0 up, Newcastle. So he's not really making any appearances. I reckon he'll start. And then if he doesn't score, then it'll be like, all right, Isak, get your boots on. Go and get us through to the next round.
Yeah.
Just on the other part of the question around teams to target and midfielders with potential, what a shame it is that Wanyeri at Arsenal's got injured because he was starting to look like a real player. Proper player.
I thought he's 17 years old.
17, 1.7 million in the game. I mean, he was...
It's a little bit like Luke Littler.
Yes.
Like, you just can't believe the 17.
Not at all. Well, Luke Littler literally does not look 17 in any way, shape or form, but...
No,
I thought it was Luke Shaw. I ain't seen him play football for ages.
He's been doing TikTok videos, though, hasn't he? A bit like Jesse Lingard.
What's that thing that
anyway,
people do with
what happened with what happened with the Rashford bet? Was
With
that? Yeah, I'm safe for that Rashford bet, aren't I?
Looks like it for now.
Yeah. Done for that lad.
What was it? 20 goals.
20 goals. I think he scored a couple since I done it. Bet 4 months ago.
That's the one. Luke Littler looks like 35-year-old bloke that's airbrushed his face. You know when you get these people, they take the photographs and they do the airbrushing and what have you, and they make themselves look all... That's what Littler looks like. An airbrushed
15 years younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cracking darts player.
Yes.
Right. Conk has been on. Question 1. It's always a list. Is Palmer a viable sell for Bruno this game week ahead of Europe being back in Gameweek 20? It's a very, very good shout. It's a dangerous one. But Ben, is it some of that temperature?
I don't really want to go there again. Took him out before then and he scored 3 or 4 goals. Yeah, it's not a nice one. Maybe I'll get lucky like Scott and get some injuries somewhere else where I can't take out a player like Mbeumo in a single game week and scores 23 points. Yeah. I'm hoping I get injuries so I don't have to sell him, but it is tempting. It's like I want to keep Johnson and Kulusevski for this double, but then I don't think he'll play against Morecambe, and I don't think Diaz will play against Aki Stanley. But I don't know. And then like Chelsea go on like a really quiet run, really, as in fixture wise. So they got after this double. They've got Wolves at home and then Man City away, West Ham at home. While other teams are playing doubles all the way through. So, but Palmer can score a lot of goals in one game, can't he? It's a nightmare. I'm sitting on the fence, lads. I don't know. I've not
got that problem. I've taken Palmer out. I've just took him out last week. And the thing is
you don't get it back.
If he, I don't know. If he scores a load of points, then you'll be wanting to keep his rise because he's playing Bournemouth. Is it Bournemouth?
Yeah.
A second. Chelsea.
Yeah.
Wolves. He'll be playing Wolves the next week, so you'd be tempted to just keep him in anyway because he's going to be getting a rise because of his mammoth score. I've decided to be, I'm spunking it in every week anyway, so I might as well take him out now. And it's worked out not terribly because I think, did he get 10 points this week?
Yeah.
If I'd left him in, I'd have obviously had more points. But I'm looking further, a couple of weeks further forward. So I've took him out now, so I don't get tempted to bring him in. Sorry, I don't get tempted to keep him in if I did keep him in. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, just quickly. I think Bruno will play the next 6 games, and Palmer will play probably 3. So if you look at it that way, I think it's probably the right thing to do. But yeah, it's not the best player to take out your team. And if you take him out, it'd be hard to get him back in, because it's just singles all the way. And they're not even in the playoffs for the conference league because they smashed that. They're already through to the next round in March.
They smashed that with a 3rd team.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think. Yeah, no, I want them both for this week. Now, I will probably bringing Bruno in for one of my Fulham assets, and that'll be instead of Haaland, who I won't have out of the 3 of them. But I want Palmer this week. I think Bournemouth at home. There's plenty of opportunity there for him to score plenty of points. Morecambe, will he get any minutes? Same question we're asking about everyone, isn't it? Really, he might get some. He might not. But I was only going to have Palmer, but I think I'm swinging back to having Palmer and Bruno now.
You're not going to go Mbeumo, so you've got a win-win situation when he smashes a hat-trick against Plymouth.
You could cheer the goals, Matt.
Oh, no. We've had plenty of enough experience of seeing the net ripple at the back end of our goal. I think if you look at the goal difference in the Championship, it's pretty much double anyone else's negative goal difference. It's shocking. So
you've no chance, have you, when it's like that?
No. If you did say Mbeumo starting this weekend, then you should have him in. But I'm not convinced he will.
Palmer didn't play in the Carabao Cup game against Newcastle, and you'd have thought if you want to win, you got to play him in that one. So I'd be surprised if he plays Morecambe.
Yeah, and I guess they're still going for the Champions League in the Premier League. And maybe they'll have a stronger Conference League squad in the second half of the Conference League as well. So
yeah,
it might not be the most important game for Chelsea.
Just another one as well. So after the cup game, midweek is the North London derby.
Yeah.
Do we not think that Arsenal Spurs might have one eye on that? I mean, that's a big game for the fans, the club. Obviously, it's a massive. Arsenal know they need to win that game to really hold on to the coattails of Liverpool. They cannot afford to drop many more points, so it's a must-win, really. Ange is in need of a bit of a lift, to be fair to him. So he'll be wanting to probably put his best side out for that Arsenal game. Do you reckon they're going to risk? I mean, Spurs. I'm talking myself into Kulusevski to Fernandes, to be fair. I think Kulusevski probably rested that game. Then they're away at Arsenal, tough game, and then you know what they're like in the Europa League with the rotation there. So I don't know. Just that game being sat after this FA Cup game could change things a little bit. I just flagged it up there. I just thought.
I don't think there'll be much rotation with Spurs because Ange Postecoglou, he's all for things being level and balanced, isn't he? Did you not see that interview after the match? I think he wanted to stab the referee in the eye.
He's losing it, isn't he?
He was really, really emotional after that match, wasn't he?
I mean, how many times did he use those words?
The thing is, though, he's put this pressure on himself to win a trophy, hasn't he? So depending on how it goes midweek with Liverpool in the semis, if he gets a good result there, I could see them probably making big changes against Tamworth, like even bigger than what we expect. He might even put the under-21 side out. But then Arsenal's the one. I think he's just going to give up that United game and they're chasing the league. I think there's pressure on Arteta to win that league, isn't there? I think now he's had it 2 or 3 years trying to get to it. I don't know, he just... Yeah, want to keep an eye on anyway. I'm digressing. So Conk, he's got Martinelli and Boomo and Kulusevski. Another one who got lucky with him and Boomo. Who I think that's his tag team partner as well, isn't it? Who I think I'd rather keep for Gameweek 19 as they have a chance of doubling, whereas Palmer has no chance. I think that would just back end of that question, to be fair. Question 2, will you guys be holding the likes of Palmer and Isak through Gameweek 20 and onwards where there's an opportunity for multiple 2-for-1s over them? I mean, I think we just touched on that with Palmer, haven't we? Isak obviously starts down that same route in 20, the single against Bournemouth. I think we discussed it on the last pod about if there's through the 2 singles, the 20 and the 21 from the non-European sides, if you do get caught out with injuries, the Newcastle boys aren't the worst singlers to be holding. So Isak, Hall, I know there's a lot of Gordons out there. I don't think they're the worst players to be having to force to be held. You know, you can get lucky maybe again, Conk with a Boomer 23-pointer, maybe off Gordon or Isak. But no, in all seriousness, no, they're it's gonna be a tough one, isn't it, Ben, to take out Isak? He's done so well in the last few weeks, but we do always chase double fixtures and.
Like you said, I'll be happy to hold him through there if I can. But if someone pops up with a 4-for-2 over that, I could be tempted. But God, Southampton, 5 goals this weekend. It's just
Did you see that video of the woman in the lounge who? Like, I don't know what that sweet where you have to guess the score, and if you guess the score, you win a Southampton shirt. And she guessed they'd lose 5-0, and Adam Armstrong had to pass the shirt over to her while she's getting booed up all Southampton fans.
What a stupid idea to get the players to give the shirts out.
Oh, even though Adam Armstrong face like thunder, well done, love. Your back's just to lose 5-0, you bitch.
I always love, and invariably it happens every few weeks. But when the home side announces the man of the match at the end of the match over the tannoy, and the side lost 3-0, 5-0, and the man of the match is lost 5-0. But yeah, no,
don't deserve one.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Isak's trying to break the Jamie Vardy record as well. 11 in a row. He's got 7 so far. 7 games in a row scored.
He's on it.
Oh,
yeah. So he's on fire. It's a scary one to take out.
He is. But them legs are made of Weetabix. He'll be having an injury soon. Next slide, please, John. Right. DT Phillip. Are you looking at Man City players going forward after back-to-back wins for them? Ben, I'll leave you this question. Going for a P and a top-up of my drink.
Yeah, like I said before, Foden and Savinho definitely on there. Vardio, definitely an option as well over this period. I just think the fixtures are great. I was even thinking to myself, like, Vardio could be higher up on the agenda than Trent over this period if Liverpool do start rotating, because I can't see City rotating over this period because they need to win to keep staying in the Champions League. What about you, Matty? You're muted.
Oh, sorry.
It's when you try and click. It's when you try and click the button to unmute yourself, and you click something that minimises the screen. So I am definitely thinking Savinho is coming in this week. I like him. I think he's got a real differential potential. Haaland, I was bringing in, but I might delay that a week to get Bruno back in. It's the first time I think I've gone without Haaland for a couple of weeks in any fantasy format this season. I've been far too stubborn with Haaland in other formats. And Foden, agreed. I'm kind of waiting to see on Foden because he hasn't really burst into anything approaching the form he had at times last season. So just going to wait and see until he does. But then that week where he hits a brace, I'll probably jump on him back in.
Yeah, Andy?
Well, me personally, I'm already there. I've got 3 Man City players, and I'm toying with it. Depending on how the next couple of matches go, I'm toying with the idea of bringing another 1 or 2 in. One of the things is, historically, Man City, once the new year comes, they go on a run where they'll win like 11, 12, 13 matches on the trot. And there's some big scores in there as well. And if you want to get ahead of the curve, that's what I'm hoping to do because I've already had my bad luck. So this is my idea: is to the main thing is Man City now. They're basically using the strongest weapon that they've got is Haaland, and they're using him correctly now. As in, they're starting to play balls into him now, which is what they haven't been doing for 2 months. Yeah. And once you start doing that, then the floodgates are going to open. You're going to get goals from everywhere. So with me having 3 Man City players, I have the option of, putting another couple in and hopefully being ahead of the curve if they do hit a very good run and start to rediscover the form. So, yeah, that's the short answer.
Yeah. We were discussing that, weren't we, Andy, when we met up for the Rovers game the other week, about City and about when being ahead of that curve. You've got a nice nucleus there, Vardiol, who would be in demand once City do prove that they're back. De Bruyne, he's been an absolute dream throughout the years in Dream Team. So these are players that, as soon as City start to become popular again, these are the players that will be racking up the points. De Bruyne, Vardiol, Foden, Savinho's obviously doing well. Rico Lewis, I think, is an absolute steal. I think he's like 2.8 million. They just need to play to the strengths, find another route to go, and they've got probably the best goal scorer in world football up there, so give it to him. Definitely, like I say, I put Foden in last week when we were on Pod Ben, or on about sticking Foden in as a little bit of a differential, a player that not many people would be wanting to put in, but you're going to take that punt before. It's like getting on the train before it sets off, kind of thing. Andy, if it does go off, you're already there, so fair play. Question 2 now. Fernandes is back after suspension. Is anyone looking at bringing him in? I think we've chatted through Fernandes. Palmer a Hull going forward. We're only having singles. Philip, I think we touched on that. If you just if you had listened through, if you go back through, then you'll hear all of that. What attacking players are targeting from Arsenal to cover the loss of Saka going forward? If any, is a good question. We touched on Jesus last week. About obviously his nice little purple patch, which he proved wasn't just against Crystal Palace, as he grabbed another. Martinelli, and obviously Trossard. Are there any of these lads that are tickling your fancy, Ben? I know you've been burnt by Martinelli at some point, haven't you?
Oh, Martinelli, thank God I didn't pick him again, because I was looking at it and he got benched again. Again after scoring 2 in a row. Is he thick or what? He just scored 2 goals in 2 games. Play your strongest players, and then look what happens. Didn't win at the weekend. Messing around with his team again. So serves him right. I'm not going for any Arsenal players, not attacking players anyway. Jesus could be one, but I'm happy with the template 3 at the minute. Isak, Haaland, Salah. Jesus is one, but I'm not going nowhere near Arsenal attacking players at the minute. Obviously, if I had Odegaard, I'd probably hold him through this double, because I think he'll get 180 minutes and not, like say, he could get penalties and an odd assist. He just had a bit of a bad patch at the minute, but he's still the main man in midfield.
Yeah, it makes him tick, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Reckon, Matt?
Scrolling forward a year, probably Wanyeri, but again, injured. What a shame. I think Odegaard, Martinelli, they're all right to tick along, but they're not. They're not explosive in dream team points terms. They're not like Saka, where you can guarantee those bonus every time he steps on the pitch. I had Havertz for a while this season, who was playing really well, but Jesus now, will he start? Will Havertz start? Will they both start? Will Havertz be deep? It's not a team who excite me at the moment in some of those attacking positions at all, despite the fact they're a really good side. So I'm sticking a bit clear on up front for them.
Yeah, Andy.
Personally, just as you've said, I've got Isak, Salah and Haaland. I mean, Gabriel is worth a punt because he is playing well at the moment. Jesus, that is, Gabriel Jesus. I do have Odegaard in my side. He's the only other one that I'd be thinking of going forward, because they're not really pulling up any trees at the moment. They're not playing fantastically like they were at the beginning of the season. And they miss
Saka.
Wins.
They miss him.
That's correct. And they're laboured. And the thing is, when Odegaard were out, they missed him as well. They were a little bit laboured, but Saka was pulling them out of the ship, wasn't he? So I've got Odegaard, and all I'm doing is just hoping that he starts playing like he used to do, getting involved in the forward moves, and hopefully getting a few penalties. That's the only reason why he's in my side at the moment, is because he's probably on penalties at the moment. So otherwise, I'd have taken him out. But I can't get rid of my front three, so I'd probably, Odegaard's worth putting in your side just for the fact that he'll be playing 90 minutes and possible penalties, and he does have the chance of getting points from other avenues if he does have a really good game and gets involved in everything.
Yeah, I'm not targeting any of them, but I just think Jesus is a decent option. Seems to be on the goal trail. But Odegaard, penalty taker for Arsenal. If you've got him, you can't take him out, I don't think. Then you probably won't put him in. One of them. Right, Nathan Wisby, who's in the chat as well. I have a midfield of Eze, Kulu, Gordon, Diaz. Who would you take out to replace by Bruno F? I was just going through this question in my head. I'm thinking he's probably got to be between Kulu and Diaz, but then looking further forward because they both got tricky fixtures after the cup game. So whether they get minutes or not, we don't know. But Kulu's got Arsenal. Diaz is away at Notts Forest, who have been unbelievable this season, defensively. And obviously they're having a cracking season. So it's not the easiest of games. I'd probably go Kulu just because of the European games going forward. But anyone else got any other ideas? Ben?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. I really want Eze for this double. So if I mean, not me personally, but if I had this team, I want Eze for this double. And then Kulu's got doubles all the way through. So I think I'd hold him. Then it's between Gordon and Diaz. Gordon, I can't see him playing Bromley. He's got good single fixtures, but if you can get a doubler like Bruno Fernandes, I think I'd probably go with Gordon out. It's between Gordon and Diaz. Diaz isn't nailed, but he's explosive too, and obviously got a couple of double game weeks coming up. So, yeah, probably hold Diaz, do Gordon out.
Andy?
Yeah, well, the way that I look at it is if you've got a midfield of Eze, Kulu, Gordon, Diaz, just like Ben said with regards to Eze, I probably want to keep him in for this double game week. And Gordon would be the one that I'd replace. And the reason why I'd replace Gordon for Bruno is the fact that Kulu and Diaz have got Europe. If you've got Gordon, I can't believe that you won't have Isak. So you've got your Newcastle coverage there for the single game week. You don't want too many players having single game week. So I'd probably do the Gordon move to Bruno now.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Matt? Did you hear the question, mate?
I did, certainly did, yeah. So I kind of come down on more the Andy side of this with probably taking out one of the non-Euro players, Eze or Gordon, but Stoke and Leicester, I think you kind of want Eze in, so it's probably Gordon out. But that's, if he starts against Bromley, good God. So that's a really tricky one. I think there are a lot of midfielders this week where they could score a lot of points, but it's that balance between Bruno. We're all convinced he's going to start both games, but the cup match is against Arsenal, so it's an inherently much tougher one. If Gordon and Eze start each game, we'd want either of them in. So it's a really tricky situation.
Mm-hmm.
Really tricky, to quote. Yeah.
Yeah. Next one. Aman, with no requirement for building team value, is rolling over transfers the next viable strategy for this week? I touched on it straight away on the pod. It could be the first week I don't make a transfer. Obviously, again, not chasing budget, so I think you'll all agree that that's probably the way forward, isn't it? If you're not chasing budget and you don't want to change any of your players, roll with it.
I think there are kind of two parts to that question there. First one is with no requirement for building team value. So a man we know is a player who gets a very high team value. Now that's not going to be everyone listening to this or watching this. It's certainly not me at the moment, to be honest, where I've got a team value that I think will last the whole season. I had a quick look at if I put together a credible list of players who I might want at some point if they're all fit, and I got to sort of £66.3 million earlier. I don't have that. So there is a credible case to say that team value and building a bit of it at this point. I know we've got no Saka in the game at the moment, and there's some other players who you'd be quite happy having different variants of. So you don't need it at the moment, but I'd say there is. I'm not necessarily sure there's no requirement to build team value, but broadly speaking, it's fine. Rolling transfers, there was a question Connor asked earlier where he was looking, I think, at Palmer or Bruno, and I think it looked like he had no other real problems with his team. It's a definite option there to hold a transfer if you've got something that's 50-50, why not build one?
Yeah.
Well, for me,
go on.
Yeah, personally, if you're happy with your team going forwards, then obviously you wouldn't want to make any transfers. But I wouldn't just not make transfers because there's no requirement for team value. Because the thing is, if you're happy with your team this week, then what are you going to do with the 3 transfers next week? And if there is a plan to use 3 transfers, then surely there'd be more of an advantage of using 2 transfers this week and 2 transfers next week as opposed to just using 3. I can understand if your team you're happy with and not making a transfer, but I wouldn't not make a transfer just to have 3 for the next week if there are things that you could possibly change for an advantage this week.
So just what if you had 2 Newcastle lads and Cole Palmer, and next week you just rolled the transfer, and then you went all 3 of them out for European players next week?
Good point, Tony. Good point.
I do. It's always team dependent, isn't it? And obviously we get these questions asked. We never see we very rarely see the team. We are about to see a team next up, but we very rarely go through people's teams as such. So they are very broad, the questions, but it's very much. I mean, I think rolling the transfer is very doable unless you want someone. There's a lot of people who want Bruno in this week. And I think, therefore, if you're going to use the 1, you might use the second. It's tricky. It's really tricky. I think it is a strategy. I mean, we'll come on to that as well, actually, with the next question, because Jay Baker, he wants to get Bruno in. Bruno or Eze in for Diaz, but not sure if I should prioritise a goalkeeper. Would have to take either Trent or Vardy out to make any sort of changes. So obviously needs a bit of budget if he was to make a change to the keeper. I'm guessing that's Forster. I've done it to myself again, where I've put that team on there and I'm like, I cannot see it. I don't know why I'm expecting you lot to be able to see it as well. I don't look at it going, what the fuck is that?
I mean, I can read it out briefly. It's got Forster in goal. We've got Alexander-Arnold at the back, Vardiol, Hall, Gordon, Palmer, Diaz, Brennan Johnson. We've got Isak, Haaland, and Salah. We've got the dream front 3. But we have got 3 Newcastle players who, at some point, might want to think about Europe there. Palmer as well. But yeah, Forster, who I don't know, Ben, but you were mentioning him earlier about whether he might be the first choice at Spurs going forward or not, with the new keeper coming in. So it's interesting. I mean, my thoughts probably are that, again, Newcastle this week, as you just mentioned, it's kind of good to have those in this week. So maybe you take the short term game there to get those points and deal with that later. Diaz, is he going to play Accrington Stanley at home? Perhaps not, with the attacking talent they've got against Gakpo, and we've got all hanging about. So perhaps he's not going to get that many minutes there. He'll get them away at Forest, tough match. Lowest scoring position in the game, goalkeeper Forster. Maybe it's time to deal with Forster, but I mean, there's a lot of kind of guesswork going on there.
Yeah, I think the way I would play it would be there's not much wrong with that side for this week, other than Forster is now a massive doubt. So if there's ever a time to change your keeper, because I am not one for changing my keeper, we know that. If there's ever a time to change your keeper, it's when you've got sod all else to do or dangerous moves to do, as in take a player out and be burnt. So if that were my team, I'd probably take Forster out. Obviously, he's saying he'd have to sacrifice Trent or Vardiol. I don't know if you watched the United-Liverpool game, but I'd be very, very surprised if Conor Bradley doesn't come in for Trent this week. He was, don't get me wrong, attacking wise, you're okay. But defensively, it was back to that. I remember a couple of years ago on the pod saying I couldn't fathom how bad you can be as a defender. And watching him 15 minutes before they hooked him, I don't know how they allowed him to stay on the pitch for that long. I'm surprised Van Dijk didn't just pick him up himself and throw him off, because he was pretty much useless. The lack of urgency, lack of trying to get a block in, tackling, anything. He just sort of stopped. He did this a few years ago. But yeah, it doesn't look good. I think Conor Bradley is a brilliant, brilliant right back in his own right.
So you're telling me Terence Trent wasn't good in the derby?
honestly, mate. Did anyone else watch it, or am I being harsh on him?
No, I think you're probably being fair in that case.
Well, the thing is, I was listening to Talk Sport today. I know some of you guys don't like Talk Sport, or in the car going to the supermarket, and they were talking about that same thing, and they were saying that Ruben Amorim was just targeting Trent. So everything that Manchester United were doing was going down that left-hand side, and they were really punishing Manchester United, and they were surprised that Trent wasn't taken off earlier than he was. And while we're on this subject, before Tony asked if I'd like to come on the pod today, I was going to put a question on. So I don't know if you would mind me actually giving you this question now. I've obviously told you my team. I've got Trent Alexander in my team, and I put him in this week. My transfers for next week, with Aman talking about obviously no requirement for a budget. Now I think I've got what I consider a decent budget of 60 million, but it's still difficult. Now I have to replace Foster. I think it's kind of important because I don't want him in my team because he's gone down to 1.6 now. He might only play one more game, and if they lose that, then he's probably going to go down again. But looking at goalkeepers, it's really difficult now because the ones that are in Europe that were lower priced, they've had a few decent games and they've gone up in value. So now the cheaper option, I know people are clambering to get in Raya, but he's quite expensive at 4.5. I want a goalkeeper that can just sit in there, and I think Onana, I think he's 3.4. My plans for transferring this week are to bring in Onana and to take out Trent Alexander-Arnold and bring in Bruno Fernandes. So what I want to know is, what do you think about me bringing Onana in? Because, like I say, that's all I can afford, and I've got a decent budget as well. But obviously, I've got the likes of De Bruyne in there that I want to keep in, and Isak. And Gvardiol I want to stay as well. So what do you think about bringing Onana in? That's my question to you guys, if you don't mind.
I don't mind
He's
it.
a good transfer to make.
Third highest scoring keeper on the game. He has a lot to do, or he has done over the last few months. So, look, if United can turn it around, he at his price point in Europe, he's going to be a good option. He's going to be a cracking option. I think you need to sort Forster out. I think Trent is very much after that performance, he's very much in danger of being dropped. If they didn't have another, if Bradley wasn't fit, I get it, and he's just going to carry on playing. But with Bradley back fit, he's and with the contract talks going on and all of this jazz, if he isn't going to be at Liverpool next season, I think Slot needs to put down the marker and say, well, you know what? If you're not going to sign a contract and you're not going to be here next season, sod it. Bradley's playing. And I could see that for the rest of the season.
And also, if he'll either sign a contract with Real Madrid or he'll want to play for another Premier League side. Now, if he doesn't sign a contract with Real Madrid and he wants to play for a Premier League side, I don't think he'd want to play at 100% himself. He'd be shying away from tackles because he wouldn't want to get injured because it'll cost him money in the long run.
Yeah, I've had it before. We've had it a little bit with Ben Brereton Diaz when there was all the rumours about him signing the contract tour at Villarreal. And when they go on free transfers, don't forget they get a massive sign-on fee. Massive. So the last thing they want to be doing is turning up injured. So, I mean, he definitely wasn't putting himself into any tackle at the weekend. So has he already signed that contract with Madrid? Because he didn't want to put a tackle in. I'll tell you that. I mean, yeah, he went back to that Trent can't defend mode. That's what he went back to. Which, to be fair, this season he hasn't been like that. He's been playing well, defensively and offensively. Kind of seen as like, oh, Slot's got this tune out of him kind of thing, where he can actually put his foot in, he can defend, he can cover, he can do all that, and that was shocking. Shocking against United.
Onana's a great pick, I think, for the next period. Should start all the games. Obviously, double game week, Arsenal, Southampton, and then into Europe. He plays the European games. So, yeah, it's a good pick for the next 3 game weeks. Should play all 6. Yeah. Have you seen the new Tottenham keeper's been added to the game? Anthony.
What price?
How much? Yeah.
2.5 million.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So, if you think,
what's that?
That's not bad if you think he's going to play. And that probably does create...
Does the son know that he's going to play?
He's 21 and he's had a good season so far, apparently, for Slavia Prague. But it's a big jump from...
kept 14 clean sheets or something out of 26 games or something stupid.
He's played in Europe this year as well. So
both. Yeah. It's not impossible that both Manchester United or Arsenal get the knockout, the playoff round, and the Europa League and Champions League, respectively. So I think both of those keepers are a good shout. And you're probably going to. This transfer is probably going to be a keeper of the season. So hopefully barring injury. So I think both good shouts if you can afford Raya, maybe, but just think about what you might want to afford elsewhere because it's $1 million saved if you go to Onana. So just think about that. But I think both of those are the 2 shouts clearly.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. No leagues today. We'll run through the leagues on the next pod. We are nearly hitting the 2-hour mark. But it's been a pleasure. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for supporting us. Thanks to Andy and Matt both for joining us tonight. It's appreciated. And best of luck for the rest of the game week.
Can I just add something, Tony? We're just talking about just talking about Aman's question about the transfers, rolling transfers.
All right, yeah.
I just want to say to Dream Team, sort that out next season. That's not right. Where you,
it's shit.
Basically you've got to use both transfers to make it worthwhile. Because if you don't use 2 transfers, then you lose a transfer. It doesn't roll 2 over, which it should roll 2 over. Really, it'll make the game a bit more. Make managers do different things because some managers will roll so they've got 4 transfers then.
Yeah.
So I
think so you got a mini wild card and all that stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it'll make it a bit diverse then. Won't be the same transfers every week as well.
And also you get more people doing just one transfer. If you had 2 transfers, you used one and one of them rolled over, for instance, you get a lot more of that and using 3 the following week.
Yeah.
Great shout.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
let's have a more.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
You got to roll with it.